guys, so today's video is a one brand tutorial featuring Wet n Wild. I told you guys recently that I wanted to get back into these one brand tutorials, and today we're using Wet n Wild. It was only once I completed this look that I realized I actually have a look ridiculously similar to this already on my channel that I did not that long ago. So I'm so sorry this looks very similar to a previous look, but it is a full face Wet n Wild look, so I decided to just post it anyway because I really love how my face makeup turned out, and I just like how romantic the look is. And since all of these products are ridiculously affordable, I thought maybe it was worth a watch. The one thing I will say is I love Wet n Wild as a brand. I think they're probably one of the best drugstore brands, not only in terms of quality but in terms of price. But I so struggled with my eye makeup, and I will go into details in the video, but I used a combination of the Wet n Wild single eyeshadows, the Comfort Zone palette, which is probably the best Wet n Wild palette ever, and I also used this palette. This is a new Wet n Wild palette called Au Naturel, and this is the rosy toned one. It has a lot of reds and pinks, and I do not like this palette at all. I just used two of the shadows, but I just didn't like them. This copper one is the one I used on my entire lid, and I just pictured it completely different. I had to wet it, and even after wetting it, it wasn't enough. It kind of was coming, it's coming off right now. I don't know if you can see it there, but it was like coming off in patches, which probably means this eye makeup won't last that long. But I still want you guys to see the whole process. Anyway, I wanted to do something very simple because maybe you're watching this video because you just started out in makeup and Wet n Wild is the brand you're looking at first. So this eye makeup is extremely easy. I just honestly would not recommend these palettes. I would go strictly for the Comfort Zone or any other Wet n Wild palette like this. The only thing on my face that isn't Wet n Wild is my mascara, because I cannot find my mascara anywhere. I purposely bought one for this tutorial. I bought the Mega Length mascara. It's in a purple tube. No idea where it is. Can't find it anywhere. But besides that, everything on my face is Wet n Wild, and I am in love with the face makeup. Like every face product I use today, I love so much. I think that's definitely where the money's at, is face makeup when it comes to Wet n Wild, and ridiculously cheap, way cheaper than other brands at the drugstore. So yeah, don't forget to leave me a comment down below what you want my next one brand tutorial to be, and I will look into it. So if you want to see how to get this romantic glowy look, just keep watching. Okay, so I'm actually going to start off this tutorial with my brows. I'm using the Wet n Wild Color Icon Brow Shaper. This is just like a clear wax. Use that to brush my hairs. And then I went in with this little Ultimate Brow Kit in the shade Ash Brown. Probably not my perfect shade, but I'm using the lightest powder in the kit, and I'm just running this through my brows and just kind of shaping them the way I want them to. It's kind of hard to do it with powder alone. I usually like using a brow pencil and then a powder on top, not just a powder by itself, but I don't think it turned out horribly for being like a weird shade. Yeah. So I actually put the Wet n Wild Ultimate Brow Mascara on top. This is in the shade Nothing But Brunette. I love this brow mascara. It's really good. And then I moved on to the face. This is the Wet n Wild Color Icon Face Primer. This is a good primer. It just kind of smooths out your skin and it gives you a nice base for foundation. And then I went in with the Coverall. Did I say Color Icon Primer? I meant Coverall Primer. And then I went in with the Wet n Wild Coverall Foundation. This one is in the shade Fair/Light. And I'm just applying that on my entire face using a Real Technique sponge. I broke out on my forehead after I did a photo shoot recently. Like, broke out pretty badly on my forehead. Don't know what caused it either. So strange. I'm going to take the Come Correct Concealer, very similar to the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. It's very thick. So I'm blending it in a little bit with my finger, and then to kind of make it a little bit liquidier, I am mixing it in with this Wet n Wild highlighting pen in the shade Ivory Into You. This is just gonna make it easier to blend. So I'm highlighting with this as well all over the face, like a savage around my mouth. It takes a while to blend this under eye concealer out, but you know, doing my best with the sponge. I'm gonna set that concealer using the Wet n Wild Contour little duo kit thing. This is in the shade Dulce de Leche, and I took the light shade in the duo and I used this to set my under eye concealer. And anywhere else I placed the concealer. Okay, so now let's move on to the eyes. I'm gonna use this new Wet n Wild primer. This is the Photo Focus Eye Primer. And this is not for those of you who have really dry eyelids because it can dry out the lids just a little bit. I recommend patting it in, but it does make your eyeshadow last all day. I took the Wet n Wild single eyeshadow in Creme Brulee and just set that primer down. And now I went into this Au Naturel palette. This is the pinky toned one. And I took that shade I pointed at, and I'm using this kind of as a transition shade. And then I wanted something a little bit more brown in the crease, so I took the Comfort Zone palette and I took this shade labeled Crease on the left side. And I'm using the same brush, just kind of like a nice blending crease brush, and I am buffing this into my crease as well. I'm going to take this Wet n Wild Photo Focus setting spray and I'm going to wet this $1 e.l.f. brush, and I'm going to dip it into that copper shade in that palette. And I do not like this eyeshadow. I definitely had to wet it because when I tried to use it dry on the other eye, zero pigmentation was coming off on the brush, like zero. It's not the best eyeshadow. It kind of splotches off. But anyway, I took a fluffy crease brush and just buffed out the edges. And then to highlight underneath my brow bone, I took the single shadow in Sugar. For my waterline, I'm using the Wet n Wild Mega Last Retractable Eyeliner in Blackest Black. Really good eyeliner, but I poked myself in the eye by mistake, and my eyes were a little bit red for a second there, which caused the black to smudge just a little bit because my eyes were so watery. I took that copper shade I used on the lid and buffed that on my lower lash line, and then I took the crease shade I used earlier and did the same thing. I wanted a little bit more depth on the outer corners, so I took the shade called Definer and just focused this on the outer corners of my eyes. And then I went in with this Wet n Wild. I need to stop saying Wet n Wild. This is all Wet n Wild. Okay. I used the Mega Liner in the shade Dark Brown. And then I highlighted my inner corners with the Brow Bone shade from the Comfort Zone palette. But I didn't record it. Like, it did not record. I'm still trying to get used to this new camera. But I'm going to contour my cheeks. I'm going to use that contour duo in the shade Dulce de Leche and obviously using the contour shade. And I'm just chiseling my cheekbones a little. And then I wanted to warm up the skin. This is the Color Icon bronzer in the shade Ticket to Brazil. Yes, it's a nice light color, but it gives your face a little bit of warmth. Really, really pretty. I love, love, love this bronzer so much. It even has SPF. I love it. It's great. For blush, I'm using the Color Icon blush in the shade Rose Champagne. Another favorite of mine. It gives you such a pretty, like, natural rosy flush to the cheeks. These blushes last a long time on the skin as well. Love it. Then I took the highlighting powder in the shade Precious Petals, and I am highlighting the tops of my cheekbones with the Real Techniques setting brush, and I'm also highlighting my nose with this powder as well. For my lips, I just took the Mega Last lipstick in the shade Bare It All. One of the best lipsticks ever if you want a nice nude. And I thought that my face looked a little bit too matte, so I went in with the Photo Focus setting spray, but I just like drenched my skin. Like I super drenched. But yes, that gave me a nice little glow. That completes this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.